Hello and welcome to another late night edition of the Heat Check podcast. Anthony, this is becoming a thing for us. I'm David Wilson. I'm joined, as always, on the other line by Anthony Chang, our Heat beat writer here at the Herald from the bowels of the Kaseya Center after certainly the Heat's best win of the season. They eke out a 1 point, probably closer than it should have been, too close for comfort, 108-107 win against the Lakers. Get to 3-4. Fantastic performances from their two best players. A very scary fourth quarter as the Heat nearly frittered away a double-digit lead, and make one defensive stop at the end. Anthony, I guess we'll start. We came on last week and we're pretty negative, considering obviously couching it that we were a week into the season, but
yeah.
The importance of some of these games, not just to get wins, but to finally kind of play well. And tonight they again, we'll talk about the fourth quarter and the issues there, but like they played like the Heat. Like if the Heat are going to be good this year, they're going to kind of look like I think they looked like tonight, right?
Yeah, definitely more positive than last week, right? When they were 1-4.
Yeah.
They needed these two wins. I know it's early in the season, but they go on the road for 9 of the next 10, so they really need to close this homestand out with a couple wins instead of going either 1-2 or obviously not 0-3 in this homestand. So it was, good to see them respond from that bad loss against Brooklyn. This performance against the Lakers was not perfect. Like you said, the fourth quarter was bad again. It's been a recurring issue for the Heat early this season. But as Eric Spoelstra said, he's not going to be negative about this one. This was a good win. So it was a good win. Lakers aren't a great team. They have LeBron James. They have Anthony Davis for most of the game. He left early because of a hip injury, but they had him 3 of the 4 quarters. And they entered with, I think, a 500 record. So the solid quality win. You needed this before going on the road. Like you said, your two best players played well. Again, not a great fourth quarter, but you escape with the win, and that's what matters.
Yeah. Let's first talk about the two main guys. Do you want to start with Jimmy or Bam?
Let's start with Jimmy.
Okay. Yeah. Bam was obviously unreal tonight.
We'll get to him.
But Jimmy is. We talked last week about. He was not playing well. He had not looked like playoff Jimmy Butler. I think I said last week we get spoiled. I think come in the playoffs and maybe forget a little bit that he's not playoff Jimmy Butler every night in the regular season. But tonight he's pretty close. 28 points, 7 of 7 at the line. That's the key number there, right? A couple of steals, 6 assists. They needed him to play like this more often, obviously, and in their biggest spot kind of the season so far, at least that he's been on the court for. He delivers, and efficient scoring is kind of, I think, the main thing that we just hadn't seen from him at 9 of 15, 28 points on 15 shots. That's like classic Jimmy Butler.
That's classic Jimmy. Yeah, that it was good to see, right? Because he hadn't been good early this season, really before these last 2 games. I think he was shooting under 40% from the field. This was his best performance of the season so far. Like I said, 28 points on 15 shots, guarded LeBron on the other end, was efficient, got to the line, had 6 assists, 2 steals. He just looked as engaged and as active as he has all season. Again, which is a good sign because he has been on the injury report with that right knee tendonitis, which is concerning because that's the injury that's given him problems in the past. So it's just good to see him looking healthy and like himself. So I think that was definitely a big takeaway from this one, is just that Jimmy looked like Jimmy Butler. And the Heat need Jimmy Butler to be Jimmy Butler for this team to actually do something. So it's good to see he still has it, right? Not that we doubted it too much, but you want to see it. Like, we're 7 games in, really haven't, even against Washington on Friday, like he had 20 points on 11 shots, decent game, but not his best. Tonight, he looked even better. He was more aggressive with the 15 shots. Like you said, getting to the line 7 times, which a few of those were technicals, but still made 3 threes. When he's hitting threes, it's a big game.
Yeah.
3 or 4 from deep. So that, again, this encouraging signs from Jimmy all around.
Yeah, and goes toe to toe with LeBron. Like, he rises to those occasions, right? Like when and LeBron obviously they've played some good guys this year, but he and LeBron are relative peers in terms of like they've been in the league. They've had battles going back to the Bulls days with Jimmy and play the same position, guard each other a fair amount. They're on each other a little bit at the end of the game there. And yeah, I mean, he's 34 years old. Like you do always, I think coming into every season at this point, again, we thought he was still going to be great this year. There's no he was the best player and probably the second best player in the playoffs last year. Like you don't go from that to all of a sudden being washed up overnight. Of course. But he's 34 years old. You do wonder at some point, is he going to slow down? And obviously the slow start to the season, you wanted to see a game like this and obviously a stretch like this too, which I'm sure this isn't going to be a one-off performance from him.
No,
I think we expect some more of this going forward.
Yeah, and I think also part of it is, I think we touched on this last week, but he didn't play in the preseason, right? So he's been working himself back into rhythm, back into shape. Practice, you can only do so much. It's different when you're playing in games. So these were his first NBA games since last June in the NBA Finals. Yeah. So it's going to take, obviously the Heat don't want to hear that. Heat fans don't want to hear that when the regular season begins, but it's going to take some time. That's the bottom line. And again, you've seen these last two games, he's looked as good as he's looked since the season started. So I think you can see that he's slowly starting to get there where, he feels, like he's in regular season shape and regular season rhythm again.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's get to Bam because he was kind of an all-time Bam performance tonight. Yeah. 22 points, 20 boards.
All-time Heat performance.
First 20 rebound.
First 20 rebound triple-double in Heat history.
Bam just himself has not had very many 20 rebound games that I can recall.
He was. I don't know how many he has in his career, but I know he was one shy of tying his career high of 21 rebounds. So if his career high is 21, this is probably either second most.
It was only his second, according to StatMuse. So, okay. It's kind of janky if you put in like the wrong search, but second 20 rebound game of his career. So
that sounds right. That sounds right. Again, like Bam is a good rebounder. He's not known as an elite rebounder and a lot of that is because he's on the perimeter a lot of times, switching out on guys, and he's not in position to get the rebound like most centers are. But tonight he was ferocious on the glass. 5 offensive rebounds, 15 defensive rebounds, and the 10 assists. Yes, guys were making shots. The Heat shot. They only ended up shooting 46% from the field, but for most of the game they were shooting over 50% from the field and making a ton of threes. So that helps, but. Just an all-around dominant performance. Like 2 steals, 2 blocks.
Yep.
Made a 3 in the flow of the Heat offense, which I think is probably the highlight of the night for Heat Twitter. Just pulled up. Anthony Davis sagged off him into the paint. 2 minutes into the game, and Bam rose up and hit the 3. So that is a good sign, right? It's first 3 of the season. Only second attempt of the season, but maybe we'll see a little bit more of that. Just one of Bam's best regular season performances of his career. And again, might seem like hyperbole when I say this, when I say one of the best regular season performances in Heat history, but it is the first 20 rebound triple-double in Heat history. Yeah. So it's up there.
Yeah, I don't remember this at all. Bam made a 3 last year.
He did.
Last year.
I don't know this for a fact, but I know that most of his threes last year and the years
prior
have been like end of shot clock or end of quarter situations. So this one was different because it was, again, flow of the offense, just kind of pull up because he was given space and had confidence in the shot. So
yeah,
it was good. So while this is a standout performance for Bam, Jokic has done this about like 30 times in the past 3 years. I was looking up other guys who have had triple doubles with at least 20 points and 20 rebounds since 2010. Bam is the 8th different player to do that, joining.
It's like Westbrook. How Luka and like James Harden broke all the 30-point triple double. Just no one can be the first to do anything anymore because those guys, any high scoring triple double, they've hit it in the last. As for Harden going back 6-7 years, and now Jokic has broken the rebound ones because he's just getting triple doubles with 20 all the time.
It's crazy. He's had 7 20 rebound and 20-point triple doubles since 2010. Jokic, 7 of them.
Other 8 different than him, players. Has anyone else had it? It can't be that many. LeBron probably has done it once.
There's 8 different guys who have done it since 2010. Bam is obviously one of them now. The others are Russell Westbrook, Joakim Noah,
He was a good
Jokic.
passer. That's probably like a 10, 22, and 11.
No, this is 20 points and 20
Oh,
rebounds.
20 points also. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I thought it was just 20-point triple double or 20
Right.
rebound triple doubles.
20 points and 20 rebounds. Jokic, SGA, Luka, DeMarcus Cousins, and Giannis. That's the list.
Marcus Cousins.
LeBron surprisingly is not on that list.
Yeah, kind of
surprising. 20 rebounds is kind of high for him. Yeah.
Yeah, he was spectacular, obviously, and the point Bam stuff going on again, like that to me, that's like kind of the most fun the Heat offense can be is when Bam is pushing stuff in transition. Obviously, you can't build a whole entire offense around that, but it's still, that's when we talk about how this team can win games. It's stuff like that.
It's another layer. It's another layer to the offense.
Yeah, well, it's because they held the Lakers to 107 points, right? That's like pretty good in the modern NBA. Only 8 threes, obviously, goes a long way in a game like that. But they need to win with defense, and they've got between Bam and Jimmy like 2 guys. We talk about the point guard problem with this team with Gabe Vincent gone, and obviously Kyle is a pure point and has some of that transition stuff too. But the strength of this team is that they can kind of be 1 through 4 or like 1 through 5 with whoever, like, Haywood Highsmith's not really going to bring it up, but they can do like positionless stuff, I think, in transition. And Bam is such a weapon with that because, obviously more centers can do that than probably could like 4 or 5 years ago when Bam was basically him and Jokic were the only guys doing it, but he still does it as well as anyone not named Jokic. And I guess like Giannis.
Yeah. And it's not even just that, like, then on the defensive end, he's the best guy on the court.
Right. But that's the thing. They can turn defense into offense.
Yeah.
Like that. That's the recipe.
Yeah. He's just such a unique player, and his game continues to grow, even at I think he's 26 now. Like he's gotten even better. He's just more aggressive. He took 20 shots tonight. Just becoming a bigger part of the offense, which I know he's been a big part of the offense for the last few years, but just seems like his usage rate has gone up this year early on. We'll see if he can sustain it. But really, him and Tyler, their usage rates have gone up a lot. Like that's they've kind of spiked as Jimmy has, not gone on too much, but just, it's not going up at the rate of Bam and Tyler. Bam and Tyler taking on bigger roles. And both are, Tyler was a little inefficient tonight, but both have been really 2 of the biggest bright spots, I would say, for the Heat through the first couple weeks of the season. Just they look like better players. Especially
Tyler,
offensively.
The threes kind of just weren't falling tonight, and
2 of 10 on threes. 2 of 10 on threes, 6 turnovers. Wasn't that good in the fourth quarter, but look, we've said it many times during his first few years of his career, like with his shot diet, that's going to happen. Like sometimes the shots just aren't going to go in. You can't shoot 40-50% on threes every game. And the mid-range shots, like sometimes they're not going to go in. So he's going to have to take these performances sometimes and have to hope that he can still make an impact in other ways, which he's become a better passer. He's obviously a pretty good rebounder for his position. And defensively, he competes. He's not as much of a liability on that end. As he said after Friday's game, he's a decent defender now, he thinks. He used the word decent. I'm trying to tell you guys, I'm decent on defense now. I would agree with that. I don't think he's, I haven't really noticed him like getting switched onto guys and being a problem. So he's gotten better in other areas as well.
Yeah, he's just never, he's gonna always have, even if it's like how Steph Curry can only be so good. It's just they're like kind of built similarly, right?
Yeah.
There's gonna be physical limitations, but that's the guy I think I've said it probably before on the show. That's the guy you just be watching how he plays defense and just trying to do everything Curry does because so much of that is just IQ and competition and he's obviously gotten stronger throughout his career, which goes a long way too. So anyone else you kind of want to spotlight from tonight before we talk about the fourth quarter?
Duncan and obviously Haywood started again for the second straight game. Kevin Love did not play. Since that lineup change, he has had 2 straight DNP coach decisions. But off the bench, I would say, I mean, and then look, Kevin Love will be back in the rotation in a couple weeks and have another big.
I know exactly.
Like, it's
like
always changing.
Lineup to out of the rotation.
Yeah. Yeah, and
out of
Steven
the
Hayward
rotation, the
Highsmith
starting
might be out of the
lineup.
rotation. Like
How many
it's
times did
always
they do
changing.
that thing? Like, how many times have they done that where it's like a guy who hasn't played for like a month, and then they're like, someone's
Yeah.
hurt, so stick that guy in the starting lineup.
Exactly. But I mean, the Heat's depth is starting to show, which is good because that's supposed to be a strength for this team. That needs to be a strength for this team. Duncan Robinson is 12 points, 2 of 6 shooting from three. Doesn't look like a great stat line, but he made shots, like big timely shots in the first half. He had the 3 assists. His passing has gotten so much better.
Honestly, that's to me like what stand like because Duncan, like the shots are gonna either go or they're not. Like, but when he's always had that ability to take 1 or 2 dribbles, and he's a pretty good like he's good at knowing like where to send the ball next. And that's the stuff that like kind of has to be, 3 assists. I don't know if he's going to do that every night, but if he's a 2.5 assist per game type of guy and like consistent with that, and it's not like some nights he's going to have a bunch and then some nights he does nothing. That goes a long way with him because it's just about can he be more than a 3-point shooter? And obviously this year the leash is going to be longer too, where he's probably just going to get more assists this year because that leash is going to be longer.
Yeah, I think he had 46 assists last season. He already has 14 assists this season. Again, that's, I know his playing time was up and down last year.
Yeah.
But I think he had 6 assists actually in Friday's win against the Wizards. Like I think it was a career high. So just you can just see his game is expanding. It's not new, like we saw last year in the playoffs as well. But he's so important to this team because of his outside shooting, and this team needs that, guys who can put up threes and make threes. And then I would say Jay Rich playing down the stretch, played the entire fourth quarter. And Jaime just continues to really be solid. Like he's, I didn't think he was going to have a role immediately.
This is exactly what I think. Like this is all you could ask for when you drafted him. You drafted him. This
is more than you can ask for. I just didn't think he would have a consistent role, playing double-digit minutes most nights off the bench and being an important guy off the bench for this team, a team that went to the finals last year just immediately as a rookie. I know Caleb Martin is out, but I think Jaime is going to play even when Caleb Martin returns. He's been good on defense, staying in front of guys. I think that was one of the big questions. Like, how can you help defensively? Hasn't been shooting the ball well from three. Teams are helping off of him. That's going to happen. But he does other things. He makes timely cuts, just a smart player, makes the right pass, can rebound, can finish around the basket. So other than the big three, I would say those three stand out. And then Kyle Lowry's charge on LeBron down the stretch. That takes some guts. LeBron going downhill full speed. Looked like it was an easy transition layup or an and one, and Kyle Lowry steps in there and takes a charge. So props to him.
Yeah. You gonna get one of those big hats for the Dolphins?
I know. I saw that. I wasn't there because I have to do a pool report for the NBA today after the game, but I saw you tweet a picture of that. And I think he was also wearing the practice after the Eagles beat the Dolphins.
Oh, was he?
After practice, wearing an Eagles jersey with that huge hat.
With that big hat?
Yeah. So, and the Eagles are good, so he has the right to do that.
Yeah. All right, the fourth quarter, it's been the running.
Yeah.
We'll be negative now for a couple of minutes before we wrap up here. Just what's your diagnosis? What is there a common thread you see in these fourth quarters? Was there something different tonight? What do we make of this as a recurring theme now through 7 games?
Yeah, obviously it's a small sample size, but it's enough to at least monitor the situation and kind of be concerned, because one of the strengths of the Heat last season was they won a lot of close games. They're one of the best clutch fourth quarter teams in the league. And so far, through the first few weeks of the season, they've been the worst. They have the worst fourth quarter net rating. A lot of that's because their offense, late game offense, have the second worst offensive rating in the fourth quarter in the league. Their defense has been, I think, pretty just 18, so kind of mediocre, but their offense has been terrible. And then tonight that continued. I think they had 9 turnovers in the fourth quarter tonight.
Yeah.
They're up by 12 with like 7 minutes left, and the Lakers pull within 1 with 2 minutes left.
Up 10 with 4 minutes left, and then it was turnover, missed pull up 3. Turnover.
It's like, okay, one game you can say it's a one-off.
Play-by-play is really ugly. I'm just like going through the play-by-play now. It's really ugly. It's not a lot of good shots, a lot of like long pull-up threes, and a bunch of turnovers. 9 turnovers in the fourth quarter. Obviously, the Bam turnover with 8 seconds left on the travel, like, that could have been a disaster. Obviously, they force a miss at the end there, but it was really ugly. I think what they said, 9 turnovers. They had the entire game until the fourth quarter, and then 9.
9 in the fourth quarter. And I mean, I was my first takeaway was going to be like the Heat played an elite offensive game again.
Yeah.
Because they played really good offensively against the Wizards, which every team does, but that's another story. And then against,
what they give up tonight, 150.
It's just their defense is awful. But anyway, through 3 quarters, the Heat were shooting 50% from the field, 40% on threes, had 9 turnovers. Like their offensive rating was again like at an elite level. And the fourth quarter happens, and they finished with, it was even a mediocre offensive rating for the game just because of that bad fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And this has happened almost every game. They've been outscored in 6 of the 7 fourth quarters they played in. It's kind of concerning. I don't know what it is. Obviously, it's mostly the offense. The offense has been what's kind of let it down. I don't know if it's because Tyler and Bam are not a bigger part of the offense, and they're trying to figure out like with Jimmy when they're on the court together, like who's getting a feel for which guy is more aggressive on which possessions, or how they kind of work together to make it work. I don't know if that's what it is, but there's something going on offensively. And Eric Spoelstra has pointed to it multiple times, like the decision making, like that they're getting into good things, but the decision making during the possession is off. But again, they're playing with guys who have played together before for the last 3 or 4 years for the most part. It's a little surprising, but yeah, I mean, look, we'd have a much different conversation right now if the Lakers would have made one of those final shots, right? Like Cam Reddish had that.
Reddish got an open look, yeah.
He makes that shot, and I mean, the Heat are 2-5. They blew another fourth quarter lead. Fourth quarter, was a disaster, but they won, and the narrative changed a little bit. But I don't think you could ignore what's going on in the fourth quarter because, again, that was a strength last season. This team had, I think, a top 5 fourth quarter offense. They were, I'm looking here, they had the 4th best fourth quarter net rating last season, and the 15th best fourth quarter offense, which again isn't great, but good enough when your defense is 2nd best in the fourth quarter of last season. Like your defense is really dominant late in the game, and that's why they won so many close games. But so far this season, that just hasn't been the case, and they're going to need to fix that really to on this road trip to get some wins.
All right, I think we can just about close out there, but we should talk about basketball courts. I kind of like the culture one.
Yeah,
I mean, the paint. I like the paint with the slow. I know it's like corny, but
I like it. I mean, some would make the argument that it's not only corny, but kind of like offensive to other teams, right? That you're like there, and so I think it was a little like brash by the Heat to do that. But I think people who don't know,
they say it all the time. Like
I was gonna say,
they don't say it all the time. Like it's not like.
I think people who know what it really stands for, like they get it, right? But outsiders are gonna see them be like kind of roll their eyes a little bit. But that was Pirelli's mantra when he got here in 1985. Like that's what he's built his team around, right? That mantra. Yeah. So it's not like saying we're just better than you. It's just it's a slogan that has represented the Heat since Pirelli arrived 30 years ago. So I think that's the bigger picture here. But I understand people who will say, really? You have to write that in the lane, like for every team to see.
Yeah, exactly. And thank God they win, right? Because if they lost,
exactly,
it'd be terrible.
Yeah. You're right. Like you set yourself up for jokes, right? But I guess if they win, they avoid that. So we'll see if they can continue that.
On the flip side, in-season tournament courts, like are they gonna keep those for the entire in-season tournament, or are they gonna scrap those?
But the good thing is there's only for the whole in-season tournament. I don't know what the court's gonna look like in Vegas. I don't know what that's gonna look like. I'm sure it'll be very different as well.
Have they not said what they are? I wasn't sure if that was on that like initial.
I haven't. If they released it, I haven't seen it. I just saw the 30 courts for the home teams. But yeah, the Heat's court. I actually didn't cover that game. Barry Jackson did, our colleague. But I watched it on TV, and it was tough to watch. It was very red. But I get like the NBA wanting to make things different for those games to kind of make them stand out, because it would kind of be just an ordinary game, more of an ordinary game
Yeah.
with the court the same. So I get it. I don't know if they have to go this far. This seems like a little much, but it's the first year. So
well, at least
they're
tone down the
experimenting.
color, right? Like,
Yeah,
if you want to do red, do like, like a reddish brown, like
like
make
a
it like at
muted
least
red.
kind of natural. Yeah.
My
Um,
first thought looking at it was like, it kind of reminded me like of the Big Three league, because their courts are kind of loud too.
yeah.
Like I was like, are they about to play half court right now? Like, are they
I
going to
felt
play
like
half court?
watching like a Euro ball, like Euro League, or
Yeah,
like a weird like AAU tournament at like some janky
yeah.
little
I don't
rec
know.
center.
Like I said, I appreciate the effort. I get why they're doing it, but I just think it's too much. It's too
If
loud.
they really want people to watch, they should save the normal courts for the in-season tournament, and then
And
people will
use
be
the
like, "Oh,
red
I gotta
court for the
watch
other
this."
games.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I could watch these games. That's actually a good point. You should tell the league
Yeah.
that.
Are you gonna cover what other in-season tournament games do you have?
They play I think their next in-season tournament is next week. They play Charlotte in Charlotte on Tuesday.
Is that like a teal court?
I'm assuming teal and purple.
Are you gonna bring sunglasses?
I might need to. Yeah.
Yeah.
I might. And then the Knicks in Madison Square Garden the day after Thanksgiving is another group play game, and they come back home and they face the Bucks on that red court sometime after Thanksgiving, I think.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and then from there, I don't know if they host a quarterfinals game, they'll have the red court again. We'll see if they
exactly.
if they host the quarterfinals. They're 1-0, so they're off to a good start in group play.
I'm kind of bummed you didn't cover that game, Fred. I want to know what it was like to cover the first in-season tournament game.
I know it was tough to miss, but Barry Jackson held it down.
All right. I think we can close things out there. You can follow Anthony on Twitter at Anthony_Chang. You can follow me on Twitter at DBWilson2. We'll be back next week. Well, you're heading out on the road, I guess.
Yes, I'll be in Memphis and Atlanta this week covering those games. And I'm going to do San Antonio from home, and Barry's doing Charlotte, the in-season tournament game, on next week. So
Barry, like Mr. In-season tournament.
He loves in-season tournament games. He only covers the big games. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Thanks again for listening. We'll talk to you guys next week.